Good evening and welcome into YCN Sports Talk. I'm Jeremy Stout. My co-host Dave Collins is fresh back from a trip to Pennsylvania.
It's not Pennsylvania anymore. It's Pennsylvania.
And we're going to talk about that.
It's reverted back to that, yeah.
They've had a little bit of a struggle the last few weeks, and we'll lead off with that game. Giants, Eagles, you were down there, not at the game, but you were involved a little bit.
I was involved with the flagship radio station, my buddy Paul, that runs the Eagles games. I was actually in the studio with some of the pre- and post-game show hosts, and it was like a funeral around 4:30 in the afternoon. Not only for them, but they had the Eagles game on, obviously, on the big TVs there, and they had the Jets game on the Red Zone, too. So it was like all of us wearing black walking off the 9th floor from 4th and Market last week in Philadelphia. There's major concern for this Eagles team. And people are saying that Doug Peterson, the head coach, it's like Andy Reid version 2.0. The problem is, though, towards the end, Andy Reid wasn't very successful. The couple of fourth down calls that Peterson had involving the running backs, and then Wentz tried to roll out and get a fourth down.
Right.
It's not the same as it was in the beginning of the season, and I don't know what the fix is. You've got Sproles out of the backfield, but he's 800 years old.
Yeah.
How much more punishment can he get?
Well, and it was kind of interesting. I think it was good. I'm a fan of being aggressive in the right situations, but then when you don't call the right plays, and this, people say, okay, it's second guessing, but it's not really. Those plays that they were calling were pretty
Anybody
bad.
could have read them. A high school football team.
And the Giants were reading that option play plenty throughout the game and stopping them.
Yeah, and the Eagles are in real trouble right now. They're at 500, they're 4-4, but they don't have a win in the division. They're 0-3. You've got Dallas that seems like they could run away with it. They're 7-1. They're 2-1 in the division. Giants with that win, 5-3, and the Redskins are 4-3-1. So the Eagles are at the bottom all of a sudden looking up when 3 weeks ago it was like, okay, smooth sailing. Carson Wentz, he's going to be here for 10 years and earn MVPs. Yeah. Not happening anymore.
And we'll talk about that Dallas game. They go to Pittsburgh and have a tough road test. But before we get to that, let's go to Monday Night Football in Seattle. Buffalo Bills, they look pretty good. They definitely kept it in the game. Some say they should have been kicking a field goal for the tie.
With Buffalo, I'm sort of, especially with Rex Ryan, if I'm a Buffalo fan, I'm tired of the moral victories. All right, you might have gotten hosed at the end of the first half with the penalties and delayed games.
Yeah.
But Rex Ryan takes something that you look at the scoreboard, it's a final score, your team lost, and said, oh, we got something to work on here. You've got the Patriots that you have to work on in the AFC, and it's been that way for 15 years.
And I completely agree with you. These moral victories are good for a little while, but after a while it gets annoying.
Especially in the AFC East.
Right, but I will say I do completely agree with Rex Ryan, and I never thought I'd say that, that he had a right to be pretty upset.
Absolutely.
That was first of all, it was a terrible non-call, then the terrible delay of game penalty, and then they make him kick it.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeremy.
I don't know.
It was a 5-yard penalty. He probably could have gotten a 15-yard penalty.
Right.
But what's to say later on in the season, if somebody's going for a game-tying field goal, another team just doesn't trot out there and do what Richard Sherman does? Yes, it's going to move the field goal maybe 5 or 15 yards closer.
Right.
But if you knock out the kicker, how are you going to kick the field goal to win the game?
Right. No,
if you really knocked out Dan Carpenter, what would Buffalo have done for the rest of the game?
Right. And that's true. And we can see some people playing some rules differently if that comes up. Let's go over to, I guess it'd be the NFC North, and some disappointing results there. Green Bay losing again, this time at home. Minnesota losing again. And Detroit's leading that division. Are they really the favorites right now?
Maybe. And then, I mentioned it. I think I keep mentioning it each week. Look at Detroit and wait and see what happens on Thanksgiving. Because Thanksgiving is usually the turn of the tide when they fall off the face of the earth. But you can count out the Bears. They're 2-6. Jay Cutler, whatever. Green Bay 4-4. Detroit 5-4. And Minnesota 5-3. I think it's right now the Vikings division to lose. But Green Bay could get hot when it gets colder out up in Green Bay.
Yep.
And Detroit, let's see what happens on Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks.
Right, and I think it's a toss-up between all three teams. I really couldn't pick a winner. I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a lot of weapons, but the weapons he has that are open, he's overthrowing them. Yeah. So I don't know if something's wrong or what's going on with him, but
from that injury, a couple of years ago, it just doesn't look like he's back to 100%.
Right.
And you can sort of say, Jay Cutler's injured each year, but it's the same division. Right. Anytime Jay Cutler gets hurt, he's never going to come back 100%.
Yep. And the Vikings...
Bradford's fragile, too.
Yeah, and their offense just has not really... I know their defense is great, but their offense questionable. And so maybe Detroit, with the team that they put together, they
Could this be
sneak
like
it
the
out.
NFC East for the past couple of seasons?
500.
9-7, yeah, an 8-8 team's going to win the division, or 9-17. That could happen because
Very
remember,
well.
with the NFL, the last week of the regular season, it's all divisional games.
Right, yeah, and you're right. Detroit has that game on Thanksgiving, so then they have a longer week to prepare for the next game. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to flip over to Week 10 and preview some AFC games. Obviously, the Patriots coming back from a bye. First half MVP, and then that preview of the Dallas and Pittsburgh game. We'll come right back. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.